Welcome to the StockMentor.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your stock mentor, Brian Johnson, making professional trading simple. My internet was out almost all day. That does not make me happy. What did Marvin the Martian used to say? I am very angry. I'm very angry. But it is now back up. I'm going to look into some possible alternatives next week to protect myself from that. So I apologize for getting this out late, but fortunately it's Friday and it's Friday afternoon, and so you have all weekend to watch it. So let's just quickly get into the market and tell you what's going on and what we saw today. And it was just more of the same. A lot of the chop. We did come down on the Dow today. Now, this was interesting that the Dow up 0.2%, S&P up 0.6%, and the Nasdaq up a huge 1.5%. I mean, a major difference between the other indices. Could be an indication of what we'll see from the other indices coming into next week. At this point, early yet, but that would be my assumption coming into a Christmas week. I can see why the techs would maybe be rising in anticipation of Christmas. I thought maybe the techs would rise long before now, but they just haven't. So maybe we see that into next week. But overall, really, the whole week was flat. I really expected a lot more volatility from the market than what we saw, based on options expiration and the Fed talked. And I understand that the Fed talks are really uneventful at this point. But still, something. Come on, throw me a bone here. We've all been waiting weeks and weeks for something major to happen, and I really thought we'd see it during this options expiration week, but nothing too major, and certainly nothing out of the range of what we have been seeing. And that's this constant chop, just as we see here in front of us. The low on the Dow was 10,263, so not quite 10,250, but you know what? If it continued up from here, close enough for me. It's 13 points from that 10,250 mark that we keep bouncing off of. Oh, yeah, another thing. Were you brave enough? When it got down into this area, were you guys brave enough to go ahead and play it long? Now we're coming into a weekend, but, so now we'll probably have a gap up on Monday because that just seems to be the MO. Bounce off this lower support, don't go very far. Leave it there on a weekend or someplace like that, and then gap up the next day. So we'll probably be up into here, and then everybody will be asking themselves come Monday morning, well, do I go long? Do I wait? Do I go short? What do I do? Don't be surprised. Mark my words that I said that. Don't be surprised if we see that Monday morning. The markets just love playing around with people. So here we are, just in this trading range, still moving flat. If we go over to the Dow Daily, once again, it did not move hardly at all, leaving this little spinning top doji right here in the middle of this flat. Look at this. Since we entered this back in very early November, we've not left it for a month and a half now. The Dow on a 60-minute, here you can see it now being the strongest. It gapped up today, held support here at 1700. And that isn't 1700, it's 1790, my bad. Held support at 1790, ran straight up here to 1807. Still watching for that 1815 break. You can see here on a daily lots of gaps, lots of little moving up and down. My levels still 1815 to the upside, 1780 to the downside. From a weekly standpoint, little teeny tiny doji. This is what we saw on most all of the weeklies this week. Just not a lot of movement, but still has to be viewed as a high base formation. Still bullish. SPX on a 60-minute. I said SPX on a 60-minute. What? Try to get. Oh, come on. All right. SPX on a 60-minute. 1102 coming right back up into overhead resistance here, touching the 20-period moving average on the 6-minute. And making a pretty good run, actually, most of the day. Once it got down here to this 1095-ish level, I talked about below 1100, takes us to 1095, below 1095, takes us to 1085. We didn't get a single close on the 60-minute below the 1095 mark. So a run back up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours in a row, straight back up into this overhead resistance. Be watching this one closely coming into early next week, as we are still at this overhead resistance. Let's see if we can come back down here and test the 1085 mark. I don't know if that'll happen. The Dow's really kind of already done it. I mean, it's kind of already tested the bottom side of this level. So I'll be curious, and the Nasdaq certainly has. The SPX is still showing a little bit of strength. for I think some pretty obvious reasons, but I won't go into that right now. This Friday video, we'll talk about that this weekend. SPX on a weekly, you can see the little tiny doji up here still, high base formation still, yes, bullish. VIX on a daily, down ever so slightly today, but you can see it just holding in between this range. I really, I'm just gonna call this. It's like that FAS, where we've got that large range, and I'm like, whatever in this zone. This is just the zone right now. From a weekly standpoint, now we can look at a Friday. You can see it stay in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, straight sideways, really. Once again, stating the obvious, no fear in the market. Santa Claus is coming to town, and nobody's scared. Apple on a 60-minute, up $3.57 today. So bouncing.